get back, we're a couple minutes away from a race start.
MotoAmerica Superbike is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series, and by NXT Bets. Play MotoAmerica for cash. Multiple race classes live on top sportsbook and DFS platforms all season long.
As we stay with you here at Barber Motorsports Park, let's go ahead and take a look at the odds to win for this weekend here for race number 1 here in the Superbike category. You see Cameron Beaubier there as the favorite. He is our pole sitter coming into the race this weekend. Roger, what do you think?
Yeah, just looking at it, look at Bobby Fong there, where his odds are, and also Richie Escalante. Cam Beaubier's definitely showed he's the favorite from practice and qualifying. But Escalante would be, and Bobby Fong would be 2 riders I would be looking at.
Yeah, Richie Escalante, remember, did not run here last season, so something to prove here this weekend. You see the bikes out on the grid getting ready for this warm-up lap. Green flag now waving from the start stand.
A lot of these riders, too, at track can be a lot different. Haven't been out here since they were in that second qualifier this morning, so this warm-up lap, want to try to get good feel for the track conditions. Is the grip where it was yesterday in qualifying, or is it like it was this morning when it was a little bit cooler?
18 Superbikes on the property this weekend. Of course, we've already mentioned Cameron Beaubier being our pole sitter. There's a good look at the number 54, Richie Escalante. He qualified 5th, but he's been pretty strong through the sessions.
His teammate as well, Sean Dillon Kelly, also in that Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki. They have made huge strides, and it's great to see that team there inside that top 5 every session. And so let's see if they can put it together. Practice and qualifying is one thing. Now we're going to see when it matters.
There's the number 40 you were mentioning, Sean Dillon Kelly, right there behind his teammate. When they get back to the grid, Sean Dillon Kelly will line up on that front row. He qualified a 3rd after the 2 qualifying sessions, so he gets to start from up front. We're going to watch along with you. We'll send it back over to Greg White, Jason Pridmore, and Hannah Lopa.
All right, welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park, Superbike race number 1. So let's take a look at the starting grid and see how they qualified for this race, JP.
Yep, we're going to have Cam Beaubier on pole. Bobby Fong in his debut with Attack, they're qualified 2nd. How about Sean Dillon Kelly? Gets that thing up on 3rd. Gagne, Escalante, and Josh Herron. Hayden Gillum, Benjamin Smith, and Ashton Yates. Then we have Bryce Kornbaugh, Waters, and J.D. Beach. A little further back, Danilo Lewis, Flinders, Campbell, Giannato, Ruling, and Gabriel Da Silva. Also, I believe on a Honda is Gabriel, so he'll be doing some stock 1000. He'll be doing some stock 1000 with us, I think, for the rest of the year also.
All right, so the grid forming up, 20 laps scheduled for this one. And Cameron Beaubier on that Tytler Cycles BMW. There's other BMWs in the class, but when we look at actual like full-blown superbikes in terms of the data and everything, the story is that Cameron Beaubier's got to go at it alone. No teammates to get information with. All right, so Cameron Beaubier on pole. When red lights go off, we're at it. Here we go. Beaubier with a decent launch, but a little bit of clutch chatter. But it looks like he's going to lead us into turn number 1, and it's going to be Bobby Fong in 2nd place as he tried to get a run up on the inside of Beaubier, and there's Jake Gagne in 3rd.
And I think that they're going to try to attack Beaubier quickly, so don't be surprised on these brand new Dunlop tires if you see Bobby Fong, who's already going, if he tries to do something with Cameron as they go down into Charlotte's Web this first lap. Cameron late on the brakes as they roll down into there for the first time, and he's going to lead them in and out to attack Yamaha's running 2nd and 3rd. And how about Richie Escalante? He jumps himself from that 2nd row up into 4th place early. So Escalante and this M4 team, as you can see, also what a start from Benjamin Smith. Ben Smith mixing it in there. He's right smacked in between Josh Herron and STK, who didn't get the best start. Then you have Hayden Gillum just behind them, trying to get that Honda up front.
All right, so number 6 is Tytler Cycles Racing, Cameron Beaubier. Number 50, Bobby Fong in the Attack Performance Progressive Yamaha. That's the R1. His teammate, 32, is Gagne. And then Escalante, who has definitely turned our heads this weekend on the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki, as that team has seemed to have made a really big jump, at least here at Barber Motorsports Park so far. And Jay, we talked about that Suzuki GSX-R 1000R, and the way it's performing this weekend so far has been awesome.
Yeah, and that just goes to show, as you see SDK slide up the inside of Benjamin Smith, The big problem right now, as you can see, Herron doesn't look happy with something. So the hard thing is Josh Herron's so difficult to pass. You see this front four already getting away from Herron. SDK is going to have to make a quick move here on the number 1 of Herron, and you can see SDK, who has shown some incredible pace, as has his teammate Escalante. To your point, the GSXR 1000s, Chris Orich has done a great job. They've had a little bit of a testing as SDK goes down, up underneath Herron into Charlotte's Web. So SDK did exactly what he needed to do. He's gotten through early on Herron. Now he can try to chase those 4 down in front of him. But Greg, they are already almost 1.2 seconds up the road from him.
So Sean Dillon Kelly on the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki. Of course, you saw him win a race last season on a BMW. Unfortunately, that team was not able to continue this season. And so Sean Dillon Kelly was able to take this ride with the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki, but the biggest news, he was able to take his crew with him from the team from last season.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and I think that's going to make him comfortable. Most important there is Jeremy Toy. Obviously, he's had some history with Jeremy. They've worked well together, and now for SDK, he's going to have to dig deep here, Greg. As Beaubier, you can see the gap. He's got a small gap over Bobby Fong. Escalante all over the back of Jake Gagne as we're looking in the background there. Look at the rear wheel come off the ground and sideways as Escalante goes down into Charlotte's Web. He gets that Suzuki slowed down, is still able to tip that bike in. So he's definitely showing a lot more confidence on the front end of that bike.
Yeah, definitely looking like a little top rack Razgatliaga move from World Superbike was the 54. So Cameron Beaubier setting the pace at a 23.5, Bobby Fong a 23.6, then Gagne and Escalante right around the 23.9, 23.4 marks and lap times as Sean Dillon Kelly trying to close the gap, equaling.
Man, Escalante out of shape again, and he's going to have to jump. He bails off that bike. Now let's just hope that when he dug in there with his shoulder, Greg, that's the biggest concern. When you run off in the gravel like that, you auger into the gravel, just worried about the right side of him here. And that's a shame. We saw him get out of shape going in there. You see the airbag has gone off for him. Looks to be okay, but we saw him make a small mistake going in there the lap prior.
Ooh, Bobby Fong sideways.
Yeah, Bobby's trying really hard to not let Cam get too far away, and it's the same thing again. You're going to see he's on the inside, bike's getting out of shape. Now he's just trying to avoid Gagne, so he lets go of the lever. Now he's going to be trying to pull the brake lever on again, but he's off into the grass and just kind of jumps off the bike. And that's how you do a collarbone right there. When you auger in, and I'm hoping that he's okay.
You could see from that, if the collarbone's okay, then the air suit did its job, Jay.
Yeah.
And you can see there the way he's doing it. Because we saw in the replay, just before he hit the deck, the airbag inflated. So
that's what they're there for. And that whole thing is to be able to prevent that injury. So did you see, what was that?
That was a little bit of dirt on the racetrack. So somebody had run off and moved some dirt onto the track. So Beaubier's rear wheeling through it, and it caused a little bit of a puff.
You and I both saw the same thing, and I was nervous too.
I was like, uh-oh.
So, but you can see what they're doing right now. Both these guys are comfortably in the 23s, as is Gagne, but they're just pulling away from him. That's going to promote Escalante's demise there. It's going to promote SDK up. And then you look here.
This is a really good job by Benjamin Smith on the Flow for Law SBU Racing Yamaha R1. But Josh Herron didn't look happy at the start of the race, but Jake Gagne right now positioned comfortably in third place, Hannah.
Yeah, for Jake Gagne, you know, I talked at the beginning of the show a little bit about how he had a really rough end of the season. Some carpal tunnel, ended up missing quite a few rounds there. Had some surgery to get everything sorted and has been riding more than ever this offseason to get some strength back. He's not in 100% shape, he would say, but this is also not the most physical track, so he's slowly just trying to build back up to where he was, wants to be consistent. He said obviously his expectations are to win. A new teammate this season too. Bobby Fong has been setting the pace really well, and it's been great to compare data between the two of them and learn from him as much as he can.
Yeah, to your point, Hannah, you know, for Jake, when you said he did a lot of riding during the offseason, I know he rode a lot of motocross. We know the pace that he has on a motocross bike. And so for Jake, he's just got to get through this weekend and analyze how he's doing. As you can see, Bobby Fong is pushing Cam Beaubier very, very hard at the moment. 24.0, 23.6 the last time through for Bobby Fong, 23.9 for his teammate Jake Gagne. So Bobby Fong not letting Cam Beaubier have his own way at the moment, but it is definitely good to see Jake Gagne back, get this weekend under his belt. And you can see Gagne's not really letting these guys get away either. He's on a good lap right now as he goes fastest first split of his personal best in that first split of the race here.
This is why Yamaha went after Bobby Fong. Hey, by the way, play MotoAmerica for cash. Superbike and Supersport Series are now live. Top sportbooks and DFS platforms. Scan the flow code or visit nxtbets.com/playma to see what's available in your location. Sign up and claim exclusive bonuses and make your picks now. Look what Bobby Fong is doing here. We knew that Cameron Beaubier was going to be fast, but Bobby Fong, of course, last season he led this championship on a privateer Yamaha, an outstanding effort by David Anthony and his ADR team. But as that team was not able to continue on with their Superbike program, Cameron Peterson transitioned to the Super Sport class and Mission King of the Baggers. Bobby Fong stepped in now with this Attack Performance Progressive Yamaha team, and he is already putting on the show that we expected from Bobby.
Yeah, and I think for Bobby, he's going to be really comfortable in this team, I hope, because, you know, obviously with the experience that this team has and the crew has, the guy in front of him has won championships for that Attack Yamaha team as well. So Cam Beaubier is going to, he's going to know what he's fighting against as far as the team that Richard Stamboli has put together down there. They do not leave any stone unturned when it comes to getting that R1 up to pace. And for Bobby Fong right now, this is going to give him a lot of confidence that he's able to kind of hang in there at the moment. Fastest guy on the track that last lap, though, was his teammate, 23.9 for Jake Gagne. Now, this is interesting. So I can definitely see a little bit of a gap now starting to appear between Cameron Beaubier and Bobby Fong ever so slightly. So maybe Bobby's just better towards the end of the lap. Cam's got a little bit at the beginning of the lap handled. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, so far, Cameron Beaubier, the fastest lap of the race at a 23.502, but Fong went 123.583, and it looks like they're just doing it in different parts of this racetrack because 24 flats for both of them last time by.
100% right. I mean, it's just the beginning of the lap. It's funny, though, because Bobby is really strong through 2, up over the rise in 4, and maybe just missed a gear or something weird might have happened where he just where I saw that gap starting to build up there when they went down into that turn 8-9 area.
Yeah, and this is a new, and I do that in air quotes, Yamaha R1, but really the only changes that we really saw in this motorcycle, we're adding that arrow towards the end of the season when Yamaha introduced this new motorcycle.
Look at how good that bike turned through there. The Yamaha turned extremely well. Cam's just very, very late on the brakes as they come down here into Charlotte's Web. And, you know, right now, Gagne's got that gap down to a second behind his teammate. 24.2 for both him and Bobby Fong, 24.3 for Beaubier, so nothing in it. Sean Dillon Kelly is also doing the exact same time as the leaders. In fact, that last time by, SDK was about a 10th quicker. So SDK's got the pace, but he's just paying the price for that bad first lap.
Yeah, but out of turn number 5, 6 area, Charlotte's Web, that last lap, Cameron Beaubier rocketed out of there, just getting such a superior drive. But here is that Vision Wheel M4 XR Suzuki of SDK, of course, late in the season last year, had a race win, his first in his debut season in Superbike category for Sean Dillon Kelly after spending 2 seasons in the MotoGP World Championship in Moto2. And we just looked at what he was able to do right out of the box at Road Atlanta last year on that BMW, and we were also impressed with Sean Dillon Kelly able to take 2 miserable seasons that could have dinged your confidence in a way that could have ended your career. He came back here so strong and was able to win a race by the end of the season.
I'm very impressed with him this weekend as well. And again, credit to that whole team and crew for getting that Suzuki. They keep trying to get it better and better each year. But how about this guy, Benjamin Smith? Ran into him earlier in the paddock. Had a really rough Friday. Didn't get that many laps. Went out this morning, qualified extremely well. He's currently running 6th, Greg. And for Benjamin Smith, as we see him come out of that last corner, he's going to get out in the grass.
Yikes.
Do a little curve jumping. So you see Hayden Gillum just behind him as well as they come down into Charlotte's Web. For Benjamin Smith, you know, this is going to be a fun year to watch. If he can continue to grow the way he started off last year, that program looks like it's been stepped up. And look, he's not that far behind the defending champ.
And Ed Sullivan is his crew chief working with this SBU team. And part of the deal is when I talked to Ed Sullivan about this, he said, look, we have the pieces right now. This motorcycle is 98% of what like a Westby Racing Yamaha was when Matthew Skoltz was on it just a couple of years ago. And so we have good equipment. It's a matter of getting this team to just get settled in, get the right pieces in place, and continue to watch the maturation of Benjamin Smith on this Superbike. And then the real steel Honda of Hayden Gillum. Quite a story as American Honda really shifted gears in the offseason and decided they're coming back to MotoAmerica Superbike class. Now this motorcycle is a stock 1,000 plus. Let's just look at it that way, as it looks like another one of the American Honda supported riders, the number 27 of Ashton Yates, not able to continue on his motorcycle currently. We're going to see Ashton in the Superbike and stock 1,000 class during the course of the year. So the Jones Honda rider is out of this one. But back to talking about Hayden Gillim and the program that they have going on, there is a connection obviously with American Honda and HRC in a way that this motorcycle is going to be getting more and more parts as they continue to test it. And of course, Jay, we know that if you're a fan of Superbike racing in the United States, and you remember when Honda, the factory team, was here in the paddock, one of their transporters, one of their semis, the trailer, went back when Jake Zemke and Miguel Duhamel were teammates. They dusted that thing off. They've had that thing waiting around in Torrance, California, moved to South Carolina, and this team was able to pick that thing up on Wednesday. So when you come here, you're going to see that transporter if you're a fan, and you'll be like, hey, I remember that thing a few years back. So this is a serious effort. And here's his teammate, JD Beach, Jason. Now, JD Beach is going to be competing in Stock 1000, and he's in the Superbike Cup class, which means Stock 1000 spec motorcycles, and he's racing for a championship in this class as well in the Superbike Cup.
So this is essentially testing for JD Beach, being here this weekend as well as running in our Superbike Cup program. And when you look at the lap times between him and his teammate Greg, best lap to best lap, JD has gone 25.3, Gillim has gone 25.2. A little bit further back, Bryce Kornbaugh here, as you see him coming out of the last corner. He's running in 9th at the moment. Bryce has been racing a ton out on the West Coast at Chuckwalla Valley Raceway there, battling in CVMA. I think he's leading the points out there. So him and his teammate Dion Campbell, they've been working hard. Obviously, they've got a full program too running out of a semi along with Josh Hayes and Teague Hobbs. So it's a very welcome addition to our paddock, seeing that BPR team here.
And of course, Bryce Kornbaugh, formerly known as Bryce Prince. The story behind that has to do with basically who he was involved with, his stepdad back in the day, but his actual name has been Kornbaugh, so that's how he's going by, even though the team is still BPR Racing Yamaha this year for Bryce. Back up front we go as Bobby Fong continues to hound Cameron Beaubier.
Yeah, and you know what? Jake Gagne was really close a lap and a half ago. And look at Fong. He's going to have a shot at Cameron Beaubier right now. There you go.
So Beaubier relegates a position. Bobby Fong takes over onto the front straightaway. This is going to be the halfway point. 10 laps to go. And Beaubier now gets his first look at what Bobby Fong has to offer. Up the inside goes Beaubier side by side, but Fong's going to try to hold it. Oh, he's so wide.
Yeah, but look what these two guys did, Greg. That is class riding right there. They gave themselves room. Beaubier was down the inside. Fong gave him room. He didn't try to push the fact. We still have 10 laps to go. There's no reason to lean on each other in that particular point of the race because we still got so much time to go. If they made a mistake, look, the 32 is coming back into play. Gagne, just a lap and a half ago, Greg, had whittled this gap down to nothing. So I don't know if he made a small mistake this previous lap, but what he's hoping now is that these two guys engage a little bit and allow him to get back up in the fight. I love seeing the fact that Gagne, because this time last year, we would see him running around in spots that we hadn't seen. Do not discount this guy at all. Jake Gagne, to me, one of the class riders that we've ever had in our championship, and he's still digging deep, and he's reeling these guys back in.
And of course, you can take a look at Jake Gagne's helmet. I was talking with him about that. This is a new design from Troy Lee Designs. That's his favorite design, he said, that he's had in his entire career. A good look at the new Jake Gagne lid as Bobby Fong continues to lead the way. I thought that Beaubier might be a little bit closer to Fong at this point. If Beaubier might be on the limit, as Bobby Fong, in his debut on this Attack Performance Progressive Yamaha Racing Hannah, this is exactly the way he wants it to go.
And he is settling right into the team, especially considering they've had so much data for him to utilize from years past. They did make some big changes to the setup for Bobby Fong as he gets a little in the dirt there to make it feel more like his bike to get him comfortable. He's really settled into a good direction for the weekend. Obviously, he's already familiar with the Yamaha, but he said this bike is so different compared to what he was running last year. Fun fact, he actually worked with Richard, his crew chief this season in the past in 2013 for a Triple Crown on a 600 at Daytona.
Oh, yeah. There you go. So a little bit of familiarity, but yeah, when you looked at the team he was on last year and you look at the team he's on this year, yes, the Yamaha R1 is the same motorcycle you buy off the showroom floor, and then you add a lot of money to make it into a MotoAmerica Superbike, but the strategies of how they made speed between the two teams was dramatically different, and that's what Hannah's talking about, is Bobby's had to change a little bit of his approach to the racing times and the racing lines on this motorcycle, but you can see the raw talent of Bobby Fong in the years he's been around is being showcased right now, as Cameron Beaubier's got to kind of figure out what's going on, because Jay, we mentioned it, both riders went 23.5 early on in this race. They've dropped about a second, 1.3 seconds per lap in terms of their fastest time, so the pace really settling down. However, Beaubier's been in this position before. He understands what's at stake. And don't be surprised if we get a couple more laps of him going to work on Bobby Fong and then start to plan to make it.
And if you watch, you see Bobby gets into turns a little early. He turns that R1 in just a little bit early. I see it in turn 1. That's what continues to run him out over that curbing on the exit of 1 a little bit. You also will see it when they get over towards the turn 12 area, Greg, and I'll point that out as we stay on these two riders. For Beaubier right now, as you can even see there, Bobby Fong in a little bit tighter, turning in a little bit sooner. That's what it takes for him to do the lap time, where Beaubier is able to hold the bike out just a little bit longer. Now, we go down this fast chute into turn number 7 here, or 6, and you're going to see they're going to jump over this curbing. Now, this next little bit of a section is where I'm noticing a little bit of line difference between the two. So they're going to come out of here. They're both going to be in around the same spot. You can see even there, Fong just in a little tighter, but it's this next left. This is a very tricky left-hander at the end of this straightaway. Fong just gets in there just a little bit sooner. You can see it there, Greg. See how he gets in a little bit earlier? Gets down to the apex, and then Beaubier just kind of rolls up on him all through this little spot right here.
Tytler Cycles BMW Cameron Beaubier in second, going to work on Bobby Fong, Hannah.
Yeah, Greg, and to kind of play off what Jason was saying, I talked to Cam, and they did get a new swing arm this year, which also helped him pick up some serious edge grip, which is crucial at a track like this where you spend so much of the lap on the edge of the tire. He did say he felt a little bit rusty yesterday, just starting the weekend off. Much better this morning. Something we talked about is that there's so many familiar faces in this paddock. He said he's raced against some of these guys for so many years, but the level of talent just keeps getting higher and higher and higher, and he knows it's going to be one heck of a championship battle all season long.
Yeah, and Jay, when Hannah talked about that swing arm on the Tytler Cycle BMW and Cameron's edge grip, he was telling me that it's mid-corner, the initial opening of the throttle, that where that edge grip is really better with this new swing arm.
And even with TC, Greg, there's nothing better for a rider to feel that when they crack the gas on and as they start to progressively go through that modulation, when you have grip underneath you, then you get the electronics and stuff starting to kick in. But man, that initial throttle opening is so key. So, you know, when you think about the amount of turns that they are going through over the course of a race, if you have that confidence to crack the throttle on and have that little bit of edge grip, it does a lot for a rider's confidence. As we're going to have about 6 to go this next time by, they're in about the mid-24s. All 3 riders at the front are in that mid-24. That's the first time I've seen SDK kind of slip back into the 25s. He did a 25 flat, but for Sean Dillon Kelly, you know, this is going to be a good race for him back there in 4th, in the sense that he's going to know that for the majority of the race, he was able to run the lap times of the leaders. So it's just very hard to do on your own lap after lap as Beaubier. He just kind of looks like he's sitting there right now, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, go to school on Fong, find out where he's strong. No need to really rush the issue. And Cameron Beaubier in these positions hasn't been a rider that's like been desperate to always lead the race.
Right.
You know, some riders in their career, that's what they wanted to do. And Jay, this is the section of the racetrack where we just keep getting this accordion effect between these 2 riders.
Yeah, and then you see when they come down into here, Cam a little bit wider, Fong a little bit tighter, and it's really interesting to see how 2 motorcycles can generally go the same exact lap times and do it in 2 different ways. And Cam's really strong into here. You can see Bobby doesn't look like he's as confident as I think he feels in other places on the track as they roll down into that turn 8-9 area where the museum is on the entry, and Cam really rolls up onto the back of him. So, but then there's other places where Bobby's a little bit better. Now, they have actually dropped Gagne this lap. The last lap and a half, it seems like it's just a little bit too much pace for Gagne at the front. Both these riders almost back in the 23s last lap. They went 24-1. Gagne was at a 24-4. He's fallen about 1.4 seconds back. So Gagne right now in 3rd. This would be a great way to kick off the season for the 32. but it's really going to come down to these two guys at the front now, I believe, with about 5 to go. And where's Cam Beaubier planning as he comes alongside almost Fong as they go down into turn 1?
Yeah, it seems like if Cam Beaubier can get a really good run out of the final corner, he's got some juice to carry him in on the inside into turn number 1. We're going to have to see if that's going to be the spot. As, of course, the expert analyst that's sitting next to me, Jason Pridmore, is going to be thinking where Bobby Fong is going to do it. However, at this point, when you come down out of the bottom of turn number 3 and up and over the hill heading towards Charlotte Webb, Bobby Fong has got Beaubier covered right now.
Well, yeah, and it's really interesting because Cameron closes in on him through turn 1 up to 2, and then Bobby pulls away. But look here, this is where Cam actually shines. Going all in through this little section here, he looks really strong and solid. So, you know, I think the spot that Cam will try will be he'll try to get close enough in the last 2 corners to try to maybe get up alongside Bobby like we saw him do before down that front straightaway, but not give up that position. Again, Bobby in a little bit sooner off the end of that back straightaway. Cam rolls this thing and flows it up over the top of the hill. You can see him getting out on that curbing. We've been watching Cam do that all weekend long. And again, Bobby's able to hold that R1 a little bit tighter through there, and he's done a really good job. And then Cam will ramp up as they come on. I think if he can get a little closer coming onto the front straightaway, he'll try something maybe down into turn 1.
Yeah, we'll see if Beaubier's trying to figure out maybe how to stick with Bobby. He's got a lot of work to do. As they come through this section right here, when Bobby gets this Yamaha R1 turn, he just starts to scoot away. Now he gets on the gas, gets it turned, starts to get away. And Beaubier's got to figure that out, because that was a little bit better than last time, but he's got so much work to do to catch Fong at this point to be close enough to make a move.
But the way you broke that down is exactly right. He's not close enough to get near him down into Charlotte's Web, which is one of the primary, if not the primary spots to pass. Now look, Greg, when they come down into here, that gap is gone. So he's able to get that gap down, but really it takes it out of him that he's not going to be able to use Charlotte's Web as the spot, because he just doesn't look like he can get in and through turn 2 the same. As you can see here, look how much tighter Cameron can exit that corner. Bobby's getting shot up out of the seat, and he's a little bit wider. That's due to the entry point of how Bobby gets into turn 1 and compared to. Same thing here. He just gets in there a little tighter. So that's also going to make it more difficult for Cam Beaubier to go up underneath him.
Boy,
So
that time Cam wasn't even nearly as much speed going over the top of the hill.
But see, even here, he opens this up, trying to carry that roll speed through the middle of this corner. And Bobby, because he's on a tighter radius through, he actually pulls away. So it also, again, makes it very hard for Cameron to get up alongside Bobby coming down this front straightaway, even though he closes in.
There's just not enough front straightaway to do it, and the work that the team has done for Bobby Fong and the Attack Performance Progressive Yamaha team,
and
they have
again,
done a ton of work on
again,
that.
you see him get out there so much wider, but look at the Yamaha turn, like you had said just now. That Yamaha turns mid-corner, and he can get on the gas, pull that gap. Now it makes it impossible for Beaubier to do anything with him down in here into the Charlotte's Web area.
Down at the bottom of that hill, Bobby's turning it with the gas. It's just that little bit of throttle position that gets it turned. He's able to get it up on the meat of the tire and drive out Superbike style. 2.5 laps to go in race number 1 of the season in the Superbike class. It's Bobby Fong, the number 50 on the Attack Performance Progressive Yamaha Racing team, leading the way from Cameron Beaubier on the Tytler Cycle Racing BMW M1000RR. What a battle we've seen, and if this ends in tears with these two, we got Jake Gagne hanging back 3 seconds, trying his best to close the gap, but it looks like they've broken Gagne to this point. But Gagne to start off the season with a podium would be an outstanding result for him after coming back from all the arm pump issues that he's had in the last season or 2.
I really like how Bobby's bike goes up over the top of that hill too. It's all wheels in line as he comes there. As you see Gagne just a little bit further back here in third. He's about 3 seconds back now, is the 32. But this is going to be a very, very positive race for him, Greg, who's really bummed to see him not be able to see Beaubier goes down the inside.
Okay.
I thought it might happen in turn 1, and that's exactly where he takes advantage. So now Bobby isn't going to be able to take as much advantage coming on the exit of this corner as he has been before. He's going to be right in behind Cam. So we've seen this now. We got about a lap and a half to go. Bobby's going to put himself on the left-hand side of Beaubier, but Beaubier's so strong into the Charlotte's Web areas. He's going to run wide, isn't he? So he gets in there a little bit deep, a little bit wide. Bobby Fong underneath him. Cam's going to hold him off.
And look up ahead of the racetrack. We have some lap traffic in play. Now there are blue flags that'll fly to indicate to this traffic that you should get out of the way. So Joe Giannato gets out of the way for this battle and has to run a little bit wide, but then it looks like Dion Campbell's next up the road. So sometimes it happens, even though the riders know if you get put in a bad position, these riders catch him in an awkward spot. It could definitely make a difference in this race. Beaubier sliding sideways. Now all of a sudden you see Beaubier's body language start to change.
Does he do it in the same spot though? Does Bobby Fong roll up underneath him in this big long turn, 14, 15, 16 there? Look how good the Yamaha turns.
Wow.
Cam's going to want to be cautious to not let that bike, he's not letting it drift out. We saw earlier Cam was using more track in the middle of that. They're going to go by Dion Campbell probably down this front straightaway here as they get on. They're going to see the white flag this lap. Beaubier might get through. Let's see if Fong can get through. I don't think Bobby's going to get through as they go down into turn 1. He's not. So Dion now is right there, and you can see Bobby had to wait just a little bit. Is that the race? Now Bobby's whole plan from right this point on, Greg, is to try to ramp up to those last few corners and try to sneak up the inside of Beaubier through those big, long, triple right-hand corners at the end of the lap. Now, will he be able to get close enough? That's another story.
All right, so here we go for Fong. Halfway through the final lap of this race number 1 here at Barber Motorsports Park in Superbike. First race of the season. And the 88 of Max Flinders also right in a position. We'll see if Beaubier is going to be able to get around him. This section is very one line as Flinders, very experienced in this class, looks over his shoulder at the perfect time. And Beaubier, when he needed it, a pass into turn number 1, and he has turned the screws. And Beaubier goes fastest sector 3 of the race this late in the race with 20 laps on the tires, a 21.1 in sector number 3. Beaubier is making sure he's going to win this one.
And you watch how tight he's going to keep it all the way through this big long right. There is going to be zero chance that you're going to be able to go up underneath him there as he runs it in there deep, Greg. And he just literally put the hammer down on this last lap, did Beaubier.
Onto the front straightaway comes the number 6, Cameron Beaubier. He takes his Tytler Cycles BMW to a win, the maiden win in 2025. Bobby Fong after an outstanding performance in second. And Jake Gagne arrives to the line in third place. So a BMW win and Yamaha 2-3. And the battle for 8th place as Sean Dillon Kelly comes across the line in 4th. There's JD Beach and the number 17 of Bryce Kornbaugh. They're getting after it. JD looking for this solid top 10 finish. He's in 8th place. As they come in the final section, the door's not open. JD slams it shut. So for Kornbaugh, no opportunity unless he tries to drive on him. Here comes the Honda CBR 1000 RR-R onto the front straightaway, and JD Beach will bring it home in 8th place. Kornbaugh in 9th. A good run for JD and a good run in the Superbike Cup for the Stock 1000 spec machines that are racing in Superbike Cup. So how about Cameron Beaubier? A look at his race pace. You can see there on lap number 3 when he took the lead, he was trying to break the will of the competitors behind him. Goes 23.502, and then settled into that 24, low 24 pace for quite a while. But Bobby Fong reeled him in, passed him, and led for quite a bit. But not only did Cameron Beaubier set the fastest sector 3 split time in this race on this last lap, also set the fastest top speed run, pushing his own air, 156.4 miles per hour. What a race by Cameron Beaubier. He had to work hard for this one. When we get back, Hannah's going to talk to him in victory lane and find out how it went.
Watching along this celebration victory lap with Cameron Beaubier with all of you here on MotoAmerica Live Plus. Roger Hayden, we were just watching, and the frustration you have to feel if you're Bobby Fong and you worked yourself up to the front, led the big chunk of that race, and then Cameron Beaubier is able to get by you, and you can't do anything.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, he's definitely going to be a little disappointed at that because you can see the victory. But I think also for Bobby Fong, he's got to be feeling pretty good about that, switching teams and, you know, able to go toe-to-toe with Cam Beaubier, who's been a championship contender before. But Beaubier just stayed close enough, got there the last lap and last couple laps, and was able to make that break with a really good sector. Beaubier just always seems to be able to do what he needs to do, and I think this feels good for Beaubier as well. I mean, he's coming back from a really big injury last year as well with the heel injury, and coming back into this season. You know, you never know your physical condition and your health until you get out there and you do a Superbike race. and Cam's able to do that and win.
Bobby Fong able to finish ahead of his new teammate Jake Gagne. And then you've got Sean Dillon Kelly, who didn't have a ride in the offseason, being able to wrap up this first race of the season inside of the top 5.
Yeah, and for Sean, he just had a bad start. I mean, that's pretty much where his race was. He had a really bad start, fell pretty far back, and had to work his way forward. And when he did, all the guys in front of him were long gone. So I think for Sean tomorrow, needs to just figure out what happened on that start.
Josh Herron, we know, chose the medium compound, the harder of the rear tires, but being in 5th, 25 seconds off of Cameron Beaubier, that's a pretty big gap.
Yeah, it's a gap. They got some work to do tonight, and he's kind of been struggling a little bit so far this weekend, but he's got a good crew, and they'll figure it out.
All right, let's send it back over to Greg White, Jason Pridmore, and Hannah Lopa to celebrate with these top 3.
MotoAmerica Superbike is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series, and by NXT Bets. Play MotoAmerica for cash. Multiple race classes live on top sportsbook and DFS platforms all season long.
Back here at Barber Motorsports Park as Cameron Beaubier wheels his Tytler Cycle BMW into victory lane after quite the performance and race strategy. That's what definitely Beaubier had some race strategy. It wouldn't surprise me to hear if Cameron Beaubier raced this race a little bit with his pit board and kind of knew what was happening and knew Fong was on the charge. But let's confirm those results for you. And what we have is we look at the beautiful Barber Museum. It was Cameron Beaubier by less than a second over Fong and Gagne. Then Sean Dillon Kelly in his debut on Superbike for the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki team coming in 4th. And Herron in 5th place. But Hannah is with our winner, Beaubier.
And like you mentioned, Greg, fastest lap of the race for Cameron Beaubier on his last lap. Cam, once you made that move on Bobby, what was the strategy for the remaining laps to prevent him from doing the same to you?
Yeah, I kept lining him up there going into turn 1. And wasn't quite there, and man, the laps were coming down quick, and was able to sneak in there, and yeah, just put my head down, and yeah, rode as hard as I could those last 2 laps. I think he might have got hung up on the front straight with the lapper, but he was riding incredible. He was riding awesome. He was really good, especially through the first section, section 3 too, in the fast S section, and I was hanging on in some areas, and we were yo-yoing. I had him in some areas, he had me in others, but awesome race. Yeah, got to give it up to Tytler's BMW. They've been working so hard. Bell, Alpine Stars, and Man Above for keeping us safe out here. All the amazing fans Barber brings out. It's such a pleasure to ride this track, and yeah, hopefully it stays dry tomorrow.
Speaking of tomorrow, looking ahead, conditions could be potentially a little bit different. How does that change your approach to the day?
Yeah, this year I'm just trying to take it race by race. I'm racing against some good vets and some really fast vets, and yeah, they finish races. That's what I need to do. So that's the main goal, and we'll take it from there.
Cameron Beaubier taking things one day at a time, but today a race win.
I mean, 63 race wins. I guess you could say, when did Cameron Beaubier become a veteran?
Yeah, it's all happening here. But for Cam, he always just rides well. I mean, with his head, he got behind Bobby, he studied, and just like our call, they were kind of yo-yoing back and forth. Let's get back down to Hannah.
Second place today for Bobby Fong, and Bobby, with Cameron Beaubier hot on your heels all race long, how perfect did you feel like you had to ride?
He's fast, man. He's one of the best out here, so we definitely had to stay on our toes. I knew it was kind of like a yo-yo out there and stuff, and nothing ever goes to plan, but hey, I'm happy to be on the podium. It's good to get this progressive Yamaha back up here. Congrats to Cam. It's really cool to see Jake back up here. I mean, the old Jake Gagne is back for sure, so it's cool to have a Yamaha, 2 Yamahas on the box, and looking forward to tomorrow, and we'll just keep working. Thanks, guys.
How do you feel in these mixed conditions at this track specifically? How much time do you actually have in the wet on this bike, if any?
We got a good day in it, but Richard claims his thing's the best in the wet, so I have all my faith in his hands.
A great debut for the team from Bobby Fong, guys.
Sounds like a bumper sticker, doesn't it? Maybe for those
Well,
guys.
what else would Richard tell him, right?
Yeah, of course. It's the best everywhere. It's the best every track we go to. It's the fastest
right.
bike out there, of course. He knows what he's doing when he's talking to the mental side of his rider. But a great run for Bobby Fong, and he talked about his teammate Jake Gagne and his awesome performance today. He's with Hannah.
And for Jake Gagne, you had the leaders in sight all race long. What more needed to be done to kind of close that gap and get just a little bit closer?
You know, I'll take that. I mean, it feels, you know, after last year, it feels like a long time since I've really been in a racing. And hats off to this team, Yamaha Progressive Attack Performance, for sticking behind me, because last year was a rough one. And but we're back here racing, and you know, the main thing today was to bring it home, and bringing it home on the podium would have been really, honestly, like a win. And I'm happy I kind of hung in with those guys, and yeah, about that kind of halfway point, they inched it away, and I was like, man, a third will feel good for the boys and the team. Hats off to Cam and Bobby. They were really riding hard out there, and it was tricky, it was slick, and Dunlops held up really, really well. So again, thanks to Yamaha, the Rye Helmets, Alpine Stars, everyone at home, and it's just good to be back racing.
First official race for you back ever since all of the issues that you were kind of having with your arm. How are you feeling physically after this one?
Pretty solid, for sure. I know it's just I'm gonna feel better and better every race weekend. Like I said earlier when I was talking to you, just finishing races is the key, like Cam was saying, and just kind of plugging away, getting better and better. It's good, like I said, to have a teammate like Bobby. He's ripping so hard right now, and I got, you know, the best crew I could ask for. So yeah, ready for tomorrow, whether it brings rain or shine. We'll see what happens.
And finishing the race on the podium for Jake Gagne today, guys.
Yeah, and you really got to think, JP, confidence too, right? Like, you've had those issues, you worked on it, and it's pretty incredible. But yeah, how about this guy, Jay? How about this stat? 86 now, 86 all-time career wins, ties him with Miguel Duhamel, and he's only 2 away from Josh Hayes, who has the all-time win record. Cameron Beaubier is on it. We'll be back with more from Barber in a moment.
That point that Cameron Beaubier made there in that interview with Hannah, Roger, was something that we discussed on the preview show earlier this weekend. He said, I'm riding with veterans, and veterans finish races. That the comfort level between all of the competitors out there and the trust that comes along with that, how does that change the dynamic, or how does that impact the dynamic of this championship?
Well, I think he knows those guys aren't going to make big mistakes. And, you know, you take big mistakes and take yourself out of the race, you get 0 points and you lose a big chunk. So for Cam, I think this year he just wants to see the checker flag, take those wins today like he did when he thought he had it. But just make sure you don't make any big mistakes. That's the things with the vets, as he's talking about. They have that experience where experience brings less mistakes usually, and so he just wants to keep it clean.
All right, let's talk about this racetrack in the rain. We've certainly seen it before. How does it change?
Well, that changes. We talked so much this weekend with elevation, and with the elevation means puddles in some spots. The water on some of these rises has to go somewhere, but for the overall, the most part, this track is really good in the wet. The grip's really well. All the riders seem to really like it in the rain. But the thing is, you just got to pay attention to the surface. In certain spots, you're going to give a little. In other spots, you're going to be able to push pretty hard.
See Jake Gagne sitting down there on the podium. Everybody has their trophies. First race of the season. It's going to be a long championship. This is the first of 20 races in the 8 rounds. What do you think the riders take away from this?
Well, I think a lot of these riders just wanted to get this first race under the belt. You heard them all talk about, yeah, I feel good with, you know, this second. I feel good with this podium. I think they'll go back and look at this, and they'll see where Richie was right there, so they know he can be a player in the mix. Sean got a bad start. So I think they know there can be more players in there going into the year.
All right, let's get back over to Greg White and Jason Pridmore for more.
Podium celebrations for Superbike race number 1 here at Barber Motorsports Park. We have a full calendar. We're going to talk about that later on, because right now we're going to get back down to Hannah.
First race of the season for Sean Dylan Kelly on the Suzuki Superbike. Sean, how was it?
Man, it was pretty crazy. I'm quite proud of the race we did. Obviously, I want to be on the box, but I tried my best. I think I had a pretty good pace this the first half. I definitely need to fix my starts. I lost a lot of time there. But, you know, first day, we got through race distance for P4. I was able to see the guys the vast majority of the race. So, yeah, just happy to be back with Team Hammer with the whole Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki. First full run with the Suzuki Superbike. And, yeah, ready for tomorrow. Let's see what happens. And just ready to keep on fighting with this thing.
I know you've only had a few minutes to kind of digest how things played out, but what stands out to you as kind of the biggest takeaway that can help you improve tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still adapting. I'm still learning a completely new bike. The Suzuki has so many strong points and obviously negative points like any bike. So I'm just trying to get the best out of it, and I think we're in the right direction. First race, you can't complain too much. So more than anything, just want to thank everybody for the support. Huge thank you to 183 CJ Knows, and thank you to Palm Beach Police and Fire Foundation. I wouldn't be here without them.
Things could look quite a bit different, some different conditions tomorrow. I know you've got a great relationship with your crew chief, Jeremy Toy, and I'm sure he's got a great rain setup in mind for you. Is that something that you're concerned about at all at this time?
Yeah, no, I definitely love the rain. Oh, I mean, don't get me wrong, I hate the rain, but I usually do okay on it. So I'm gonna welcome it tomorrow, see what we can do. Haven't ridden in the rain with the Suzuki, but nothing scares me. So just gotta go and see what we can do, and I definitely hope to be up here.
I'm very confident. Sean Dillon Kelly, you guys.
Oh, definitely. And by the way, he only went a couple hundredths of a second off of what Jake Gagne's fastest lap of the race was, and he was in third place. Beaubier celebrates with the awesome volunteers here at Barber Motorsports Park. We'll be back with more in a moment.
Still with you here at Barber Motorsports Park. That comment that Sean Dillon Kelly just made, Roger, about the start. That's what kicks off these longer races. When you don't have the start that you want to have and you don't need to have, how do you recover from it?
Well, just try to figure out what went wrong, whether it was electronics or whether, the clutch, every bike kind of has a different start. When you're in such a competitive class like Superbike against the vets, as they called themselves, Cam and Bobby and Jake, when Sean got a bad start and he worked and fell back to about ninth, when he got into fourth, he was already 2 or 3 seconds behind those leaders. And whenever you're swapping tenths with these guys, it's going to be hard to close that down. So if Sean could have got a good start, he would have been in the podium fight if he was up there right in the beginning. So you just cannot spot these guys at the front of this Superbike field a couple seconds early on in the race because they're too good to be able to claw that back.
We talked about the gap back to 5th place of Josh Herron. When you look at the rest of the results here for this first race, who else has a lot of work to do overnight?
Well, I think a couple good rides I would say Benjamin Smith, a really good ride for him. But I think just Josh there just struggled today. He's kind of struggled this weekend. And, the crew just needs to sit down. And it's only the first race of the year, and it's a long year. So you don't want to leave today if you had a bad first race of the year and panic and think the season's over. You just got to regroup and look at that. And, you want to start the year strong, but if it didn't go your way, it's going to be a long year, and you got time to turn it around.
What about Richie Escalante not finishing after that big off? What can he clean up for tomorrow?
Just not make the mistake. He was right there, got the start that he wanted, put himself in that right spot, but just made whatever that mistake was down into turn 5.
Send it back over to Greg White and Jason Pridmore as we wrap up Superbike coverage here from Barber.
Race 1 highlights from Superbike here at Barber Motorsports Park.
And it was a fast-starting Cam Beaubier that would lead the field into the turn number 1 with Bobby Fong hot on his heels. You can see there Jake Gagne, Richie Escalante, and the rest of the field figuring their way out as Herron went up the inside. We saw Escalante the lap before this get it a little bit wrong down into Charlotte's Web, and it's the same thing here. Now, that right there makes it a little concerned, almost like he had a problem. So we'll get to the bottom of that for you and get those answers done so you can hear what we say tomorrow. Bobby Fong would just hound Cameron Beaubier until he made this pass and would go on and lead for a number of laps. Only with about 3 laps to go to see Beaubier go up the inside and retake the lead. From this point on, Beaubier was able to just stretch it out a little bit, and you can see it's a small margin of victory, but Beaubier learned and gets the 63rd win of his career.
If you're new to MotoAmerica and you're wondering how we score points in the championship, well, this is how we do it. This is the first race. 25 for a win, 20 for second, 16 for third, and then once we get past 5th place, it's just a single point all the way down to 15. So only the top 15 gets those points. So Beaubier leads as we head off into tomorrow. What a race we had between Beaubier, Fong, Gagne. We get to do it again tomorrow, but it might be really, really wet here, so it's going to be a totally different scenario. So make sure you join us for our race coverage of Race 2 from Barber Motorsports Park and our kickoff event for 2025 here in MotoAmerica. For Hannah and Jason, I'm Greg. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow.